It's been said that people never change. Instead, they just find new ways to express the core motivation that defines them in their life. You want to know why traders can't succeed, why so many traders fail in the market? Has this ever happened to you? You have some type of habit that you cannot stop breaking as it pertains to the market. Maybe you continue to cut your winners too soon, or you let your losers run too long, or you historically have poor entries, poor exits. Some bad habit that you really just can't get ahead of. Well, the fact is that's happened to all of us. And I'd be lying if I didn't say at some point in my career, it hasn't happened to me, because it has. Now, when you have a habit or some type of pattern that you're trying to break, what's at the root of that? What makes you consistently repeat poor habits when you know you should not continue to demonstrate that behavior, when you know you need to break it? Well, what you may not know is that day trading is much about the mind as it is about skill set, and how you feel about day trading, how you feel about money, how you feel about yourself, all matters. The reason why a lot of traders, it takes them so long to improve behaviors, if they ever improve them at all, is because they haven't tapped into the real root of the problem. And the root of the problem is your motivation. What motivates a trader will govern his trades or her trades. What motivates a trader will govern how you cut losers and how you allow your winners to run. The reality is all of us have something that makes us tick. And when it comes to the market, that something will be highlighted every single day. I mean, it's going to stare you in the face. I've said it many times to those inside the Discord, those in some of my trainings, that day trading, as it pertains to business, has to be one of the most, if not the most, difficult task you will ever take on. Why? Because like a mirror, it shows you who you really are. And the fact is, some of us do not like to see who we really are. So for a moment, we need to discuss what motivates you. Why you can't change, why you can't get better, aside from technical skills and your ability to read the market, understand all of the different parameters that move the market. Yeah. I know all that. We'll get to that. But before we do any of that, we've got to understand what motivates you. And I am telling you, the single common reason that day traders fail even before they get started, before they start to do any type of analysis, is that they are trading with the wrong motivation, or worse, no motivation at all. So you're going to have to first identify what's the core motivation. What's the real reason you're day trading? And I'm going to hit you with the headline. It has to be more than money. When I work with a lot of day traders, we do something called a strength and weaknesses assessment, or a SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. And when we do our daily exercises for the trader mindset and to get ready for the day, there's something that I have the traders write. It's called a governing statement. After you write down all of the data points for a SWOT for the day, there are some other points that we teach as well. At the very end of the page, we're going to write down a governing statement. Now, the governing statement, in short, it's your why. It's something that you write down, that you watch, that you look at, that you see every day. It's in front of your eyes as you trade, and it's designed to tap into your core motivation. It's designed to jar or snap you back to action when you get off track. So when you're in a trade and you're letting that loser run, it's designed to tell you this is why you're trading. This is why you can't let that loser run. When you're looking to cut that winner short, It's designed to snap you to reality. This is why you're letting the winner run, etc. It's called a governing statement. And in short, it is a short sentence that highlights your why. It points to your core motivation. Many traders trade without a purpose. The motivating factor that makes a trader improve or get better has to center around purpose. Why are you trading? What makes you you? What makes you want to be better? And why do you want to do this? Now, it's going to take you some deep thought. It's going to take sitting down and knowing yourself. You're going to have to build what we call a trade identity to actually understand who you are. But there cannot be success without purpose. No trader ever sat down and said, I'm going to make some money today and I'm going to do it every single day without any type of purpose. It doesn't work that way. So if you want to get better in the market, if you want to improve, you're going to have to tap into what we call your core motivation to develop a purpose. If you don't, then what you'll learn is you'll simply keep repeating the same habits over and over, and you will never get better because you don't have a reason to get better. You see, all of us have an innate desire to belong to something bigger, a bigger purpose. We use a team environment, for example. Have you ever worked inside of an office where morale is low? Maybe the CEO or those in leadership are very authoritative or very tyrannical. Maybe they're harsh and rigid. Maybe it feels like us against them, right? You feel like you're in maybe a hard-pressed environment. You don't feel like you're part of a team, or better yet, a family. How's that feel? How's that environment sound to you? Would you like to work in something like that? Well, I don't think any of us would, right? But now, what if you flip that environment? What if you turn that environment to a purpose-driven environment? What if everybody on the same page, in the same team, work together for a bigger purpose? Maybe you're trying to help someone in the community, or maybe you're trying to solve a world or a global problem. Do you see how that could unite and focus people to drive harder, to work harder, to be better, to do better? Because see, it's no longer about you. It's about something bigger than you. We take that same mentality and we apply it to the market. When you day trade in the market, you cannot execute each trade thinking about money, and you can't execute each trade thinking about yourself. You must have a bigger purpose. That purpose should be at the core of your motivation. It should be your why on why you day trade. So how do you do it? How do you develop this core purpose or motivating factor that defines or governs your purpose? How? Well, the first thing you need to do is think deeply about what you want and why you started day trading. Did you start day trading out of desperation? Well, I'm going to tell you, that is the wrong motivation to day trade. In fact, whenever I meet traders and they are very energetic or in a rush to get training from me, and they sit down with me, in the first 15 minutes of the conversation, I listen very closely to if the trader has a sense of desperation. When traders say things like, I just have to, or I've got to do this by this deadline, or I just have to get my money back, or I need to. Whenever I hear those statements, a red flag goes off. That's a statement of desperation. And I know that trader is in for an uphill battle. And so typically, I dismiss them from training and I don't work with them. Because I cannot work with anyone who has a sense of desperation. And you cannot effectively trade when you have a sense of desperation. Why? Because when you're trading with a desperate mindset, it affects the emotions, which affect your decision-making ability, right? So you're going to have to tap into what motivates you, clearly define your purpose, so that when adversity happens in the market, you can remind yourself of your purpose. It thus calms your emotions and allows you to effectively trade over and over again. Another reason why your motivation is so important, because it's tied to your purpose, is because of discipline. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever tried to discipline yourself with a pattern or some type of behavior or skill by doing it every single day until it sticks, or maybe you hope it will stick? Now, we see it all the time, right? We see it in the fitness industry. People start a resolution and they say, I'm going to get up every single morning or every day and I'm going to go to the gym. And what happens to them? Well, they start going to the gym, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days a week. And you may see them after a few weeks or a few months slowly tapering off. And then after a while, they completely stop and they say, yeah, I tried that. It didn't work. Or I don't know. I lack the motivation to keep going. Now, why does that type of incentive, the discipline-based incentive to push you to get better, why does that not work? Well, it's because deep down inside, the person doesn't really want to exercise. They're only doing it because they know they should do it, but they don't really want to do it. Now, we take that same analogy, and how about we flip it? Let's say you're married and your spouse broke their leg, and you're the one that the doctor, the rehab facility has chosen to rehab your spouse back to good health. And they've given you a strong rehab program. And it means you've got to get up at 6 a.m. You've got to stretch the legs and you've got to walk. You've got to do squats. You've got to run. You've got to go to the gym, and you've got to help your spouse rehabilitate themselves back to good health. Now, the core motivation is that you love your spouse. You want them to run again, to walk again. And if you do not help them, number one, they can't do it themselves. And number two, they'll never get back to full capacity. So now there you are, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 8 months. You're up in the morning, you're exercising with your spouse, getting them back to good health. And before you know it, a year goes by and they're back running. But what happened? What's the byproduct of you having a core motivation of loving your spouse and wanting them to get back into good health? What's the core motivation? Well, you love them. You care about them. You know they can't do it themselves, and you want to see them do better. But now, what was the discipline or the byproduct of that motivation? Well, you developed a pattern. You developed some habits. Now, you're in a habit of getting up in the morning. You're in the habit of working out every day. It started with you helping someone else, and you received the benefits as well. And now, year 2, year 3, year 4, all of a sudden, you're in a routine of working out. We take the same ideology and we apply it to the market. You have to have an accountability, some type of purpose that drives you to get better in the market. You can't just blindly say, I need to do this. I need to get better. I've got to stop cutting my losses. I've got to stop cutting my winners short. I've got to learn how to read for traps. I've got to understand entries. I've got to understand exits. There needs to be an accountability there and a system that will allow you to get better without forcing you to do something that you don't really want to do. So, one suggestion I would say is to get a trade partner, have someone to hold you accountable. Another suggestion would be review your trades, audio and live every single day. Record them, screen capture, right? And then review them with your spouse or review them with someone else so that they can hold you accountable. Trading in the 80s and 90s, before really the internet and this massive quantity of data, was really individual driven, right? It was really more individual focused. There was a fund manager or traders, and they were really, broken into silos, right? and they didn't really share the information like today. Nowadays, because of technology and so much moving data, traders have teams. There's quants and analysts and all kind of people on their team to crunch and data and mine different data to give it to them. And collectively, they work together for the best trade setups, for the best opportunities to present to their clients. So it's a proven fact that if you're going to operate in today's market, you're going to have a team. Now, why do we mention that in relation to your core motivation and purpose? It's because team environments foster more accountability when you share the same purpose. So when you build a team to trade, whether you're part of a community such as the Wealth Wells day trading community, or whether using your community at home or a group of friends, all of you should have the same purpose and hold each other accountable. And it will drive you to the next level, no doubt about it. So I just want to talk with you guys a little bit about really getting to the root of why a trader may repeat poor habits or can't develop certain disciplines or break through certain barriers when they're day trading in the market. And it's because deep down, they haven't defined their purpose and their motivation isn't clear. Now, here's an extra piece of information for you. All right. And we'll talk about this another time. Maybe you can listen to the audio where I discuss trade identity for this one. But a trader, all of us have a identity or a certain personality. All right. And anyone who's trained with me knows that I'm very big on trade identity. I won't just slap anyone on a trade plan. I've got to know something about you. And I've got to understand your patterns, your behavior, and things like that. Now, why? Why is that so important to me? Well, it's important because you have something about you that makes you tick. It's something about you that's driving you to day trade, to get your wins and your losses. And all of those things I need to understand and you need to understand so that you can clearly define your purpose and your core motivation. What you're going to have to do is look at all of the good and the bad that makes you up, and you're going to want to lean into your strengths, or you're going to want to lean into the things that are natural to you. So what do I mean by that? Well, some traders, and I've said this many times, some traders are swing traders masquerading as day traders. They're not really able to complete intraday trades, yet they start trying to day trade and they fail. Does it mean you can't be a day trader? No, it doesn't mean that. But it means that you may have a strength of holding longer. Conversely, some other traders, they may be very skittish or nervous traders or nervous people, and they're not suited for longer holds. They may be better scalpers. Well, whatever the case is, your strengths should fall in line with or work along with your core motivation, right? So we teach traders how to do that inside the Wealth Wells Discord and how to grow based on your strengths. But the reason that's important is because if you don't lean into your strengths and if your core motivation doesn't feed into your strengths, you will always trade in an uphill battle. You're always going to be going against the grain, and you're always going to be trying to develop something that's unnatural to you. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of skills that you're going to have to develop to be a good trader. And quite frankly, everyone has the ability to develop them. But what takes you to the next level is going to be something that we call an edge. And we'll talk about that another time. But the edge for each person is different, and it leans into your personality type and your core motivation and your core strengths. So this discussion was just based on noticing some traders and how they may lack the ability to be consistent, to develop discipline, and to really stick to things in the market. Maybe you've got these patterns that you haven't really been able to cut or develop, for that matter, and you've been trading for some time and you can't figure out why. Well, I'm telling you, it's because you haven't given any thought, written thought, to what motivates you and what really drives you. If you do that, if you develop your core motivation, that will equal a purpose. if you formulate a plan around your purpose, then it will work and get you to the next level. So remember this, all right? What people will not do out of discipline, they will do out of inspiration. They will do out of purpose. So it's very difficult if you're just trying to push yourself towards a goal. The better thing to do would be to find your purpose and move towards it. So whatever you do, it has to be purpose driven. Don't push yourself towards a goal. Be drawn towards a purpose. KD for the Wealth Wells.